Alright, you got Blue NEMESIS Chevelle here real quick. I'm going to make a quick video about power steering in a 67 Chevelle. Or putting power steering in a 67 Chevelle that has a manual steer. Here we go right here. We got the setup. We got the steering column all the way to the coupling. 67 Chevelle on top. Then you have a 2010 Nissan Versa steering all the way to whatever I say the steering assembly with electric assist, which we're going to take that electric assist and we're going to put it on that 67 Chevelle. It's going to give me power steering, nice power steering, easy with no pulleys, no fluid, none of that stuff. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to set it up really quick and get some measurements. All right, here we go. We're going to take the measurement really quick of the 67 Chevelle. We have roughly 52 inches. Let's do the Versa. About 31. So we got 52 and 31, so we need about 21 inches added to this bad boy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take, what I want to use is this intermediate shaft right here, because it has these knuckles on it. So we're gonna get a part of this, take it out, take out this middle section, push this piece that goes on the firewall back, take out a chunk here, or we might take out even more, but we're definitely going to take out a piece down here, get this mounted on this side, and then we'll see where we're going to take out here, how we're going to get this connected to that internal shaft and get it all pieced together. Alright, another key thing is right here, this ECU that's going to control this, or whatever you want to call it, that's going to control it. It's simple. It's going to work in fail-safe mode. We're going to hook our battery. We're going to hook our ground. We're going to hook this to a ignition source. And then all we're going to do is we're going to probably just chop this off, unless I have a... No, we're going to chop this off and keep it simple, keep it moving. And we're going to just connect these two wires. Wherever I mount this, I'm probably going to mount it inside of the car somewhere. We'll extend these wires, put some connectors on them, and then mount them to these two wires. Take this to our ignition source, give us power when we're running. It'll go into fail-safe mode, and we'll have power steering at all times once the car is on. I think it's maybe like a couple second delay before it goes into fail-safe mode, and we're good to go. And with fail-safe mode, we got enough power to move this big beast around. No problems, no issues. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get to it. Alright, I gotta point out something that's also awesome. Alright, so it's an intermediate shaft right here. Actually extends, it has splines, and it's in there good. So it's gonna give me a lot more range to mess around with, and if I'm off a little bit, it's not gonna matter because you can always just move in or out and take a couple inches here or there. So it don't have to be exact with my measurements, just because of this beautiful feature that we're gonna utilize. Okay, I'm gonna run through a quick one. What I'm gonna do. This is what I'm thinking. So what I'm gonna do is, I check this bearing out right here that slides right over top of that long spline that goes to the motor, and this is very, very tight compared to this is what was inside my 67 Chevelle. Pretty much here to here is all spline, and you can see it slides down on top of it, and then it mounts to those 3 bolts.
lock those. Get these splines locked in place. Hard to do with one hand, especially my left hand. All right, let's do it again. Okay, that. All right, and this thing is really tight, snug, no play. I'm talking about beautiful. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this little mod real quick. Then I'm gonna shave off all this stuff, cut all this flange off right here. We don't need none of this little tilt for the steering. I could probably utilize it, but I would have to make sure I keep this knuckle right at the point where it can pivot, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna be able to make that. Actually, I think I can. So I might just utilize that and mount it to my dash, and actually utilize this actual tilt. So we'll get to that boat. We'll get to that bridge in a second. We'll cross it. All right. So this is how I'm modifying it. So I can use this piece without cutting this shaft down here and trying to weld a little piece on, because I would have to cut it pretty much right there if I was to cut it, because how this is tapered down. So I've had to cut it here and then weld another piece on to give me the proper splines here. So to avoid doing that, I tried to do a different way, but that way ain't working. So what I end up doing is taking my adapter piece right here that holds my steering wheel, and this is the centerpiece that fits down on here. It has the right splines. The splines are locked on place in that. It had a little ridge on the top. I took the ridge, grind it off, then I notched it to center it. I just cut notches in it, and those notches are the way the bolt holes for my steering. So let's say with the notches it would sit just like that, so it's centered. It's centered inside of here. And how this works is so let's say put this screw in there. It fits in the little notch. All these screws are sitting in the notch. That's in a notch, so this can't spin. And then there's one screw not on there, right? But then this will slide down on top like this, like so. And then you have this piece that comes down. So the notches is only there to keep it dead center, and when you're turning, and then this nut in the center here, this nut in the center is actually what's going to keep it all together. So when it's all said and done, it's going to be mounted something just like this. The notch is going to keep it locked together where it can't spin or slide or rotate just because this washer. And then this is going to pinch it all together. And then I'll be able to take and mount any steering wheel that has this universal pattern on it onto this ring right here. So I'm going to get back to it. So I'm going to get to cutting this flange off. to utilize the 67 Chevelle housing, I'm gonna cut this flange off. I'm gonna end up cutting all this and removing it. Put the housing to about right here, to where this mounts to the actual electrical motor. So I'm gonna keep that. So I'm gonna put the old housing over top of this to sleeve it all the way up to here to the steering wheel. So this whole part is gonna look just like the 67 Chevelle, minus this flexible, well, not, but minus this mount where you can tilt the steering wheel. That's not gonna be useful. It would be useful, but it's not gonna be necessary in what I'm doing. And I'd rather keep the Chevelle look compared to trying to modify this and have this all in there. I'm just gonna clean this all up, and we'll be back after I do some cleaning. Okay, just to give you a look at it before I go ahead and cut these flanges off, how I got it mounted. This is it. Those screws are keeping it centered. The big one in the middle is actually holding it all together. And it's notched. That's how it keep it spinning. And we can do a little test and spin it real quick. And as you can see, it's not wobbly. It's pretty centered. Very smooth. And it is on there very good. It is not coming off for no reason. This is done and done, that part. So let's move on. Okay, this is it all cleaned up. All the brackets and mounts cut off. And grind it down smooth. This is the housing that we got. What we got that we're just gonna slide. Should put this camera on, but let's do it right. Something like this. Got one more piece that I'm cutting, which is this piece. I gotta get the end. This I'm almost through cutting it out, but you see that piece right there? I gotta cut out just so I can have this housing, which is gonna be on here like that, essentially. But I gotta cut out the inside so I can get it to slide over. Then I'll screw it all in place, get it all mounted up, mount the steering wheel, make sure everything measures up the way it's supposed to. And then paint it all, disassemble it, paint it all really good so it's nice and shiny, ready to go back into the car. I got this part, put it in the car, test fitted it. I pretty much got that figured out inside the car. Other thing is here. So I need that overall 52 inches. I'm probably gonna need a little extra inch or two because of the angle I'm gonna dodge my headers with. So this piece that I cut it a little too short, and that means I'm gonna have to take these, notch them, level them out, get them all squared away, leveled, or whatever you want to call it, and weld them back together to the exact length that I need. Put me a new coupling on here, and it'll be good to go. So we'll be back again. Blue Nemesis Chevelle, back at it again. Let's do it. All right, here we go. I got it all put together now. Had to put that little set screw there just to hold this piece together because it's not, the internals are all gone now, and it's just a sleeve that I slid over top of this piece, the internals here. So I had to put a little screw there, set screw, another one there that goes all the way through and actually catches this sleeve in here. You can see down in there, it catches that part, so these are together. So so they're locked together. Now I'm getting ready to go ahead and clean it up and paint it. And this piece is already complete. Only thing I had to do this piece is slide it on here, mount it, and then take a steering wheel piece and mount it to the top of that, and then the steering wheel can go on. So this is going to be ready to go inside the car. Okay, I'm about to connect my two shafts back together and weld it up. This is pretty much just a question. The way I'm going to weld the shaft back together, I cut like a 45 on that one. I'm going to cut like a 45 on this one. I'm going to butt them together like so. I might not even cut a 45. I might cut just a little angle on that, and then I'm going to weld that together. I'm going to put them in this, maybe 2x4s, what I'm going to use to keep it all straight together, and then I'm going to weld it up pretty much exactly like that with a little notch on there. Might be good where it's at right now. I can still get bite. But if anybody, any professional welders out there got a better way of going about it, I'm always love the information and the knowledge, so help me out. But this is the way I'm going to do it, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to fail. Hold on, let me correct myself. I'm 100% sure it's not going to fail for what I'm going to be doing. Alright, so I'm attaching these two pieces together, my workbench. Alright, so I took it, put that V, somewhat of a V in it, and then I went ahead and welded, polished it up with a grinder, or cleaned it up with a grinder, should I say. If you're gonna build hot rods and you want to save some money, you need to get into welding. And you can teach yourself. I did it. It's not that hard. It's definitely some technique to it, and it definitely, if you can get somebody to teach you or give you some pointers, hands-on pointers, awesome. If you can't do it, do what you got to do, man. Do what I do. I'm not the best welder, but I can weld some shit up. And if you're gonna start welding, you're gonna need a grinder. Grinders all day. Clean it all up. Check your work. Get a couple pieces of scrap metal. You can find scrap metal anywhere. Get some scrap metal. Get your cheap welder from Harbor Freight or something. Start practicing with that. Me, I got a couple setups. I had a little cheap Harbor Freight deal. I got a Lincoln Arc stick welder. Depending on what you're welding, but you can practice with the cheap Harbor Freight welder all day and get good just by practicing yourself. Get on YouTube, whatever you got to do to get the job done. And mainly when you're starting to weld up little small stuff like exhaust and stuff, you just got to make sure you try not to have leaks in your exhaust. But you don't have to be perfect, but you just got to start. So basically we got this all welded up, ready to go. And also I check the strength on it. There's not a scientific way to check it. It's not the best way to check it. But after I weld it, before I cleaned it all up, I go and I set it on an angle on a brick to create a kind of steep slope, and then I actually put my weight on it to see if it's gonna bend. Well, it's probably gonna bend and flex, but really it's just to make sure that when I put that 230 on it, my weld doesn't break. So I did that test. Weld didn't break. The bar itself wanted to bend, so then I got it all back straight again, and I'm ready to go. So then I finished my weld, and then I finished cleaning it all up, so it's ready for some nice paint. But I always check, if when it's possible, you could check certain things like this, because this is maybe 3/4 of an inch that I'm welding through, but since I cut a V, I'm not welding through the 3/4. I also take when you get into welding, you'll get all this shit, but you can take a torch and heat it up. That's the best way to do it when you're welding something thick. You can heat it up, the area, the piece where you're going to be welding, and then you go from there. All right, enough about the welding. Now we got this piece extended back fully. What we're going to do is I'm going to mount everything inside the car. That thing is all painted up nice and pretty now. We're going to mount it all inside the car, and then I'm going to get it all situated in the car, mount the steering wheel, everything. Then we're going to get a good measurement from where we're going to be. Then off of that good measurement, I'm going to stop real quick and go run and grab this coupling. Then off that good measurement, we're gonna be able to tell us exactly the new spot we need to cut this at, which I think is gonna be up in here somewhere, maybe like 3 or 4 inches. But first we'll get a good measurement. All right, I'm gonna do a quick update real quick on this power steering for a storm out here. Oh, look at the mess. By far the hardest part, I would say for me, was actually getting this thing mounted in here, making custom brackets and stuff to mount it, getting the motor tucked away underneath there. I had to make some custom brackets to actually hold the motor into place, and then getting it all mounted, getting it all tight, really tight mounted. Now I can actually finally get to the part of actually checking my length. But it's about to storm. But for sure and for certain, getting it mounted in a good position, holding all that weight for me, because I mounted the motor inside the car, was the toughest part by far, but it wasn't all that bad. It seemed like it would have been worse than what it was, but I figured it all out, so it ain't that bad. Now I'm to the point where I got it's coming out here. I'm gonna not reroute all the wires. I'm gonna move the wires, build me up. I'm gonna make me a custom plate. Oh, rain is here. But I'm gonna make a custom plate. I got some stainless steel here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out the old cover that was going on the steering. Mount me a slot for my wires to be on top, and then mount me a slot. Make me a cover plate, paint it black or leave it stainless. Who cares? Mount it on there, and then seal around the actual penetration where it comes through. All right, we got our plate made up. Scuffed it up on right here, only in this little area where I really want the paint to stick, which is going to be shown. The rest of these edges, pretty much all of this is going to be covered by the actual firewall. But when I put the plate on the inside, you're going to see the outline of the old thing, something like this. Or actually going to be something like, it's going to come off of here and goes like that right there. And then that's notched out for the wires. So we're going to hit it up with some paint real quick before we put it in the install. So as soon as we install it, it's done and done. The only thing I got to do is come around this edge right here and come around this and put a little notch, put a little rubber grommet in here where the wires are going through. And then right there is going to be where the actual shaft for the steering is coming through. So then we'll go ahead and do that. All right, Blue Nemesis, I'm back. Finally got the electric power steering all set up. That's with the plate on, wires all tucked away from it. Give it a clearance to turn since there's a knuckle there. You got the new rag joint down in there. Shaft is all mounted. Got a little bit of clearance past my headers. You got the steering wheel all set up. Everything cleaned up a little bit. Got everything tucked up underneath it. Still gotta do some more on the wires. But we're gonna do a quick little test really quick. No power steering versus power steering without the car being on. Alright, this is gonna be the test. No power steering. All right, that was definitely a workout to get it to turn. Anybody who has a car or has had the unfortunate event of their car cutting off while they're driving or something, you know how difficult it is to turn. And at a dead stop or a still, it's the most resistance and it's pretty hard. So now we're gonna go to flip our switch and do the same thing with our electric car assist. Alright, done and done. Now with it was so much easier. I was able to do it with one hand, and not even half the time, maybe like a quarter of the time it took me to do the manual and turn the tires both directions. So hands down, it works awesome. And that's not even with the car running with the alternator giving it an extra 13 or 14 volts. That's just what off of me. I put it on a toggle switch just to make it simple for this demonstration. Whenever I get more time and I go through my wiring, because I got a couple more things I'm going to add to it. Once I get all those things added to my wiring and I go through it again, I'm going to put everything on the key. And it's going to be good to go. Next video is going to be we're going to install a not a trans brake. No, we're going to do full manual, valve body, reverse, and the TH 400. We'll be back.